elected, and that shows you the importance that is attached to this particular office. Mr. Speaker, I concur with the committee, except when I listen to the chairman of the committee describing, for instance, Dr. Andrew Karanja, and I listened to our friend Mother from Gilgil saying that he's well-educated, but the chairman says that we appointed him, notwithstanding the fact that he cannot communicate very well. Now, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, of course the duty of an ambassador is to communicate, to speak for the country. I find one thing that is being omitted all the time, that ambassadors are being vetted or appointed. It does not happen in Western countries, that you are appointed to a Portuguese-speaking country and you can't speak Portuguese. You are appointed to a French-speaking country and you can't speak French. Now, if Dr. Karanja does not communicate well in English, what do you think about him communicating well in Portuguese? I think we're like Honorable Juliet is saying.
Order, Julius. There's a point of order from Wangari.
Mr. Speaker, I don't remember anyone saying that Dr. Karanja cannot communicate effectively in English because he's actually a graduate of a PhD holder, Mr. Speaker, and was very fluent and very well conversed with the English language. The only issue we had was the issue of speaking in Portuguese, and we've had others who have gone, including yourself, without speaking the local language.
Yes, Junet.
Mr. Speaker, of course.
Hold on, Sunguldi. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I want to also say that having a PhD does not mean that you know English. You can be having a PhD and you don't know English, because you saw the other day in Eldoret, there was a university that gave honorary degrees of PhDs and people were in goals. How do you know those people speak English? How can you confirm that those members speak English? But it's not.
Order, members. Honorable Sunguli, I appointed you to China without you knowing any Chinese language.
So, Mr. Speaker, that is why, with the benefit of the hindsight, yes, I'm able to advise that yes, it becomes a problem. But I took an immediate measure and learned Chinese. Yes. And Mr. Speaker, you can also attest that when you came to China, I was able to translate some Chinese, yes, to you. Yes, I'm just saying that in future, as we draft this policy, let us take that into consideration so that we can appoint people who are fit for purpose. And when I talk about lack of communication, I was referring to the speech of the chairman of the committee, that Dr. Karanja said that he is going to improve his communication skills once he gets back to Brazil. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I also want to commend His Excellency the President for appointing Mr. Noor Gabo to be Consul General.
Yes, Bashir, what's the point of order?
A motion, sir. Honorable Speaker, I want to
Sungule, do you want to be informed?
You know,
Yeah, I want to.
Yes, you can let him inform.
Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, and I just want to inform Honorable Sungule and the House that the point where our chairman said that the nominee said he's going to improve on his communication skills was not particular on his speech, but it was, we asked him a question on why, when he was the Minister for Agriculture, that he kept quiet when so many things were happening, including the issue of vaccination. And he said there was a lapse and that in future he's going to improve on his communication skills to the public and the people he serves. Thank you.
Yeah, that's why I said he was appointed in spite of that fact. But Mr. Speaker, I was at the point of saying that I wish to thank His Excellency the President for appointing Mr. Nur Gabo to be Consul General to the Port-au-Prince in Haiti. That, like Brazil is the only place where we have our embassy in South America. And I hope that this position that Mr. Nur Gabo has been appointed to becomes a position where he's ambassador to the Caribbean, rather than just a consul general to Haiti. But it is a testament, Mr. Speaker, of the fact that the mission in Haiti is actually now getting some fruits. Contrary to what we had predicted here in this house, it seems like the brave sons of Kenya are at long last making a difference in Haiti. And I hope that Mr. Gabo will, if his presence in Haiti, in presence in the Port-au-Prince, will in fact now enhance our responsibilities in that place. And it is very important that we eventually take this office away from Haiti to in fact Kingston itself, so that the rest of the Caribbean can come under the loop of Kenya, because we need the Caribbean countries when it comes to our diplomacy. We have our foot in South America. We need to extend that to Santiago in Chile. We have our foot now in Port-au-Prince. We need to extend that again to the rest of the Caribbean. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that the ambassadors in our abroad ought to be looked after very well. I don't know the position currently, but when I last visited one country, it looked like the salaries were delaying, some of the allowances were delayed, and it is very embarrassing if the embassy abroad does not get its payments due on time. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Mutunga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the adoption of the committee report on the appointments. Honorable Speaker, I have worked with, and I know Dr. Karanja very well. Honorable Speaker, Dr. Karanja worked and retired from the World Bank. And the World Bank is not any mean hirer. The World Bank hires the best. So it's about the best brains that we have in this country. Honourable Speaker, we have had issues in the ministry. And probably the question may have tilted its response.
Yes, Kainan, what's the problem? I see an officer in mechanical gear. He's trying to fix. In the event I give you a chance to speak and it's not working, you'll get a portable mic. Go on, Mutunga.
Yeah, Honourable Speaker, I'm saying that we've had a few issues in the sector, especially the issue on vaccination, which needed to be properly delivered to the Kenyans. It could have been anybody here and any basic speaker in this house or in this country. But Honourable Speaker, those are issues that are technical in nature and require the competent authority to respond. And the competent authority on this matter is the Director of Veterinary Services. So maybe we should be asking ourselves the extent to which the Director of Veterinary Services came out and gave out the issues, responded to the issues of vaccination. Honourable Speaker, I would like to thank the President for realizing it necessary to put Dr. Karanja specifically in Brazil. Honourable Speaker, Brazil is the hub of agriculture in the Southern American region, and it influences the entire world in terms of the agricultural products because they sell a lot to most parts of the world. In fact, they access more markets than we possibly could. They are much more advanced in research, in research on various types of products. And we can gain a lot in terms of opening up doors for Kenyans and opening up doors for technology transfer from Brazil to Kenya. So, having an agricultural background and being in a place where you'll be able to identify what is good and useful for us, I believe Dr. Karanja will do a good job to help Kenyans out. Honourable Speaker, I want to very briefly speak about the appointment of the Consul General, Mr. Noah Yero Gubao. Honourable Speaker, I remember very well in this House, we had a heated debate on why should we send Kenyans to die in Haiti. Up to now, Honourable Speaker, I have not been able to find any situation where a Kenyan has died in Haiti. In any case, Kenyans are being commended for the good work that they are doing. And this is an outgrowth of that particular opening or that particular relationship that we created with Haiti. So, Honourable Speaker, I would like to appeal to our colleagues that sometimes we need to be objective in whatever we say so that we may also open up doors and avenues for Kenyans. Those Kenyans who are in Haiti are Kenyans who are earning a living, maybe even an extra coin out of such engagement, which are of international nature. Honourable Speaker, very briefly about our UNEP appointment. Honourable Speaker, this UNEP appointment is in Nairobi. United Nations Environmental Program is based here in Nairobi, and we believe and strongly believe that the appointment of Ababu Namwamba, Honorable, is going to help us to especially dig into the environmental issues in this country and relate what we are doing in terms of policies, in terms of legal and regulatory instruments of this country with what is happening at the UN. It will help us also to improve our sitting or our statement that we make at the international negotiation tables, and I believe that he will also take time to identify what other countries do so that they are so impactful when it comes to the outcomes of negotiations. In most of the cases, Honourable Speaker, we do not take the right people to the negotiating table. Sometimes we pick institutions, and these institutions may not have the correct personnel to go to the negotiations. And I would like to appeal to to the Honorable Ababu Namwamba, once he takes this particular position, to look at the issue of negotiations, at the determinations of what are our proposals to the various issues that are under the table when it comes to the United Nations Framework Conventions on climate change, especially, and when the Conference of Parties are meeting. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I support the adoption of this report.
Kainan. There's one behind you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important report. Mr. Speaker, diplomacy, by definition, is the art, science, and other means states use to interact with other nations to safeguard their national interest. Mr. Speaker, that being the case, in the modern day diplomacy, Mr. Speaker, was born out of the Vienna Convention of 1961, which also provided the basis for diplomatic engagement as to promote, to project, and to protect the interests of that particular country. Mr. Speaker, I'm aware that it was during your time as the Minister for Foreign Affairs and later on when Amina took over, that for the first time we have adopted a written foreign policy which provides 5 pillars as the basis for our diplomatic engagement. Mr. Speaker, number 1 is peace diplomacy. 2 is economic diplomacy. 3 is diaspora diplomacy. 4 is environmental diplomacy. And 5 is cultural diplomacy. Mr. Speaker, this being the basis of our foreign diplomatic pillars, then what is it that an individual is supposed to have? This particular field is a specialized field. Mr. Speaker, I know individuals have alluded to this. When you are appointed, the first thing is you are expected to be the interface between Kenya and the country that you have been assigned to represent Kenya. There are basic things that, other than the educational qualifications, there are basic things that sometimes we fail to appreciate. Mr. Speaker, in the past, before the collapse, before the end of the Soviet Union, Mr. Speaker, diplomats used to be appointed purely on ideological persuasions. But today things have changed. Things have changed because first thing in our engagement is economic diplomacy. Mr. Speaker, as much as these 3 individuals are qualified, and I do know their first objective will be to pursue track 1 diplomacy, meaning state-to-state relations. But there are other things that are also expected to do through track 2 diplomacy, which is non-state actors' role in our diplomatic engagement, in particular the UN. The Honorable Ababu Namwamba, as a former minister, as a former parliamentarian, I must say is one of the most qualified individuals to represent Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, being appointed or being assigned to represent Kenya at the UN Habitat, Mr. Speaker, this entity is the only one of its kind south of Sahara. But the role has been completely dispersed. The functions of this entity called UNEP supposed to be here has been dispersed to Spain, Portugal, and other countries. Mr. Speaker, recently, some few months ago, Kenya was given the status of being the only non-NATO allied member south of Sahara and the fourth in Africa, Mr. Speaker. This is not a mean achievement. Mr. Speaker, this comes with pride and prestige. And therefore, the individuals who are appointed to this position, first of all, must be educationally qualified, must be individually spirited and ready to represent Kenya in all aspects, in all their international assignments. And therefore, the question is, Mr. Speaker, and this is why I agree with the chairman of Defense and Foreign Relations, before individuals are assigned or nominated to these positions, there must be some engagement so that the presidential appointments are very lucrative and very appointment, so that individuals don't turn down these offers at the last minute. And therefore, in future, and I agree with the chairman, before some of these individuals are nominated or assigned, they must have some informal interaction. And this is what the chairman actually has alluded to, Mr. Speaker. And this is the right thing to do, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know you are a product of this. Mr. Speaker, this being the case, these appointments are coming at a time when the global village, when Kenya is being challenged economically, politically. There are so many issues that these diplomats have to be prepared. And I want to agree with what Honorable Sunkuli has said. Linguistic reference, preparedness is very important. When you are assigned, you are an intelligence officer. You are an economic representative. You are political representative. Therefore, knowing the language of that community where you are expected to serve is a very important thing. And therefore, I want to ask the chairman defense and the other member, in future, there must be some linguistic preparedness for some of these individuals. So that if you are posted to a Portuguese-speaking country, you must have the basics. If you are going to be posted to China, you must also have the basics. Otherwise, you will waste your first 2 years in getting ready, and that will be a waste. And by then, the times have changed. Your tour of duty has almost come to an end, and you will have done nothing. And I think that's a very important suggestion. Not that we are not happy with the appointing authority, but it's a way to assist so that the individual becomes productive as soon as you take that particular role. Mr. Speaker, this being the case, today the world is going through a serious crisis. The Middle East crisis, the Ukraine and the Russian crisis, Mr. Speaker, and the change of regime in the US, Mr. Speaker, this is the high time that Kenyans who are appointed to these positions must be individuals who can meet the test of time, individuals who are prepared, individuals who have the skills, individuals who have the interests of this country at heart, and individuals who are willing to go out of their way to promote this premier nation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the past, you are aware, some of these postings used to be a dumping ground. You fail in all other things. And Mr. Speaker, I want to attest to one thing, that parliamentarians or politicians remain the best all-round ambassadors this country has ever had. And you are witness, you know it. Because the fact that you are a politician doesn't mean, and I want to disagree with those who said some of these individuals, like Ababu Namwamba and many others, who have been politicians, and I can tell you will remain the best ambassadors this country has ever had. So let's support our colleagues. To be a former politician is not a curse. To be a former minister is not a curse. But you must be prepared for the job. That's why consultation is also very important. And Mr. Speaker, I know you are also a seasoned product of this particular ministry. One of the things that we should be encouraging, Mr. Speaker, is because we have opened so many missions. Are these missions contributing to the economic well-being of the Republic of Kenya, or they have just expanded our political engagement? As chairman and colleagues, as the former chair of this committee, is one of the things that you need to go around and find out what is the economic contribution of some of these missions that we have opened. If it is through political persuasion, I think you need to close them as soon as possible. If they are adding well-being, if they are going to add value to the economic growth, to the economic well-being, then we need to look everywhere. East, west, north, south, and that's our diplomatic engagement. And that's one of the things that proudly we have entrenched over the years. And finally, Mr. Speaker, this appointment comes at a time also when some of the role, there's a lot of debate in Mr. Speaker. The debate is, what is going to be the position of Kenya? Are we going to join the League of Developing Nations, or are we going to be competing with ourselves? Over the years, we have been competing with ourselves. Today, Mr. Speaker, you are witness. Just reflect on the GDP of Ethiopia. It's almost twice that of Kenya. A few years ago, Ethiopia was a struggling economy. Mr. Speaker, look at Uganda. A few years ago, Uganda was dependent on Kenya. Today, they are not our favorite trading partner. Look at Tanzania. What happens to Kenya? We have all become, we have all reduced ourselves to an inward-looking nation. An internal debate that will not put food, water, and other amenities on the table. We need to think outside. What happens outside? We need to create opportunities, because many youths in the field are either unemployed or underemployed. And many are in the field and they're looking upon this leadership here to give them opportunities. These opportunities will not come if we become a state that politics from morning to evening, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with this, I want to urge my colleagues to support this, and I also want to urge the President to appoint more politicians to these very important diplomatic engagements. I support this appointment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The 1 hour is over. Mover.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable colleagues, for your contribution. Very enriching. If you noticed, Honorable Speaker, I did not interrupt most of the comments from honorable members, because it makes our committee even more better, enriching us with thoughts that we will reflect with the product that we'll be bringing to the House even in future. And I want to thank my committee, able committee, for their contribution. It was on recess when we did this, and Honorable Speaker, we had an almost 99% presence of members. I want to appreciate our committee, parliamentary staff, the entire secretariat that worked with us for this report. Honorable Speaker, without much ado, I beg to reply. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members on their feet, take your seats. Take your seats, Wamurada. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10. Which is that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations in its report on the vetting of the nominees for appointment as Ambassador, Permanent Representative, and Consul General, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th January 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 132(2)(e) of the Constitution, Section 22 of the Foreign Services Act, Cap 185(e) and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as indicated: Dr. Andrew Karanja, Ambassador, Brasilia, Brazil. Honorable Ababu Namwamba, EGH, Permanent Representative of Kenya to the United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP, United Nations Office at Nairobi, UNON, and Mr. Nur Yaro Gabo, CBS, as Consul General, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. As members of that opinion, say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, special motion, consideration of nominees for appointment to the Public Service Commission.
Karemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the following special motion that, taking into consideration of the findings of the Departmental Committee on Labor in its report on the approval hearings of nominees for appointment as Vice Chairperson and as members of the Public Service Commission, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th January 2025, and pursuant to Article 233, subsection 2 and section 3, and section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of A. Mrs. Mary Wanjera Kimonye, CBS, as the Vice Chairperson of the Public Service Commission. B. The following nominees as members of the Public Service Commission. 1. Mr. Harun Malim Hassan, PWD, EBS. 2. Ms. Monamaka Amani Mabruki, CBS. 3. Mr. Francis Major. 4. Dr. Irene Cherotich Asienga, OGW. 5. Mr. Mboya Molu, EBS. 6. Ms. Joan Andisi Machayo, OGW. And lastly, number 7, Dr. Francis Otieno Owino, CBS. So, Honorable Speaker, I wish to confirm to this House, and as I tabled the report earlier today, that the committee sat down earlier this week, that is on the 9th, and conducted the vetting exercise. And we made our observations on the suitability of the nominees, and I wish to confirm to this House that Honorable Speaker, that the nominees are suitable for the positions, the Vice Chair of the Public Service Commission, and also the members. All the nominees are Kenyan citizens and do not hold dual citizenship. Then also, the nominees presented the academic credentials and professional certificates during the approval hearings, and I wish to confirm to the honorable members here that they are adequately well educated. The committee noted that. And then also, none of the nominees holds any office in any political party. Honorable Speaker, we were able to ascertain that there is none of the nominees holds a political party office or even contested for any position. Then also the nominees, none of the nominees had been dismissed from office under Article 75 of the Constitution. Then also, Honorable Speaker, the nominees met the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on Leadership and Integrity, having obtained clearance from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, the KRA, the DCI, and the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, ORPP, and also the institution of the Higher Education Laws Board. Honorable Speaker, the nominees demonstrated an impressive grasp of topical, administrative, and technical issues touching on the office of the Vice Chairperson and members of the Public Service Commission. Honorable Speaker, it is good to note that majority of these nominees are people who have served previously in government and they have a wide experience. The nominee for the Vice Chair has been a PS and has served in government for many years, and we were able to establish that she has a lot of experience in public service. Then also all the members, some of them have actually been PSs before. A person who has been a PS before, Honorable Speaker, is a person who has adequate knowledge on how government works. And Honorable Speaker, even as we discuss these nominees, it's good to say that the committee was also able to establish that they understand, or there are people who understand the challenges of the Public Service Commission, and we believe that they will be able to deal with the current and also the future challenges of the Public Service Commission, and make sure that the Public Service Commission is a commission that is desired across the country, or Kenyans will be proud of the Public Service Commission like other places in the world. So, Honorable Speaker, in the view of the above, on behalf of the Departmental Committee on Labor, I am happy to move this special motion on the consideration of the nominees for appointment as Vice Chairperson and members of the Public Service Commission. I beg to move and now request the Honorable Leah Sankaire to second.
Excellent. Leah, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this report from the Committee on Labor, which I'm also a member. Mr. Speaker, the members vetted displayed exemplary skills in public service, and they had very vast knowledge in public service. Mr. Speaker, most of them, as my chair said, having served in various positions in this Republic of Kenya in different portfolios, including the PSS, Mr. Speaker, previously are well conversant with various challenges in the public service, and they also gave proposals on how to solve the issues. And Mr. Speaker, we were happy with the vast knowledge that they have in the public service. Mr. Speaker, we have no doubt that upon their appointment, they will improve the service delivery and restore public trust to the public service. Mr. Speaker, particularly drawn to one member, Mr. Francis Major, who hails from Kajiado County. Having worked before as a director in NTSA, he displayed exemplary leadership skills there and automated most of the systems there, which we actually enjoy today as Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, all the nominees were actually people with vast knowledge, and we are certain that they will transform the leadership they will transform the service delivery in public service. Mr. Speaker, with this, I beg to support the report, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 11, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Labor and in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as Vice Chairperson and as members of the Public Service Commission, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16 January 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 2332 of the Constitution and Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following persons to the Public Service Commission: Mrs. Mary Wanjira Kimonye, CBS Vice Chairperson; Mr. Harun Maalim Hassan, Member; Ms. Mwanamaka Amani Mabruki, CBS Member; Mr. Francis Major, Member; Dr. Irene Cherotich Asiega, Member; Mr. Boya Molu, EBS Member; Ms. Joan Andisi Machayo, Member; and Dr. Francis Otieno Owino, CBS Member. Is it the mood that we put the question? Yes. Yes, Yusuf, you don't want to agree with the rest of the members? Let me put the question on the proposal. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I stand to support the report of the committee. I think this is one of the most diverse commission that the Public Service Commission has ever had. From the national cohesion and equal opportunity point of view, you see someone from Northeastern, my constituency, is the first time in the history of Kenya represented in this commission. You see someone from Upper Eastern, you see from Rift Valley, you see from Nyanza, which means that this is a well mixed, and this is the commission that looks at the public service employment and recruitment, and then we expect the outcomes will be quite different what used to be. Last year, my committee, National Cohesion and Equal Opportunity, we audited the Public Service Commission. We looked at the previous recruitments, and the issue was very pathetic. There was too much leaning to some parts of this country, while others were not actually represented. So by having well representatives of the commission, we expect in future the products of this will be the same. Marginalized people have been considered, minority communities have been considered, gender has been considered, and in particular, Harun Maalim Hassan, who is a disabled, permanently disabled person, who hails from my constituency, and who from childhood has been very...
Order. Yusuf, yes, a member for Bumula.
Whereas I have no personal issue with anybody on that list, is the member in order to say, to mislead the House that the list list reflects diversity when we have a chairman and vice chairman coming from the same region. Honorable Speaker, is the member in order to mislead Mushiri and Wanjiru Kimonye to be specific? Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no chair on this list which we are discussing today. So I'm talking of those commissioners which have just been named here. There wants to be a commissioner soon. So no chair is here, and therefore I don't know who the chair is. And the ones I'm looking at are well representatives of this country. As I was saying, that I sincerely thank the appointing authorities for once having considered somebody from Mandera West as a commissioner of public service commission. Yeah?
You've made your point. You are repeating yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. With these remarks, I support the committee's findings. Thank you so much.
Zamzam. And you are not supporting the findings of the committee, you are supporting the motion before the House.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kuunga mkono hawa walioteuliwa Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwanza nikiweza kumpongeza dada yetu mwanamwaka Amani Mabruk ambaye anatoka katika jimbo la Mombasa. Ni mwanamke ambaye ni msomi, mpole, mchapakazi ambaye ameweza kuhudumia public service miaka mingi na ni mtu ambaye tunamwamini. Mimi nataka kuambia wote walioteuliwa Mheshimiwa Spika kuwa waweze kuhudumia jamii bila kuwa na upendeleo. Mheshimiwa Spika, nikimwangalia huyu Harun Maalim amekuwa ni mtetezi sana wa watu wanaoishi na ulemavu, na nina imani nafasi hii ambayo amepewa Mheshimiwa Spika itamwezesha kuweza kuhudumia walemavu kwa njia ambayo ni sawa. Mheshimiwa Spika, sijui mambo ya vice chairman na chair wake, lakini kama ni kweli Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa majina hapa, ingekuwa vizuri kama naibu wake angekuwa anatoka sehemu nyingine ili tuweze kuchanganya, lakini hata hivyo yule ambaye anaweza kupewa kazi Mheshimiwa Spika apewe kazi, afanyie Wakenya wote kazi. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to be very brief, and I rise to support the motion. And Mr. Speaker, the executive errs in many times by bringing bad appointees. In this case, regional diversity can be seen. I want to single out the Honorable Mr. Francis Major, who hails from Kajiado. Former Registrar of Motor Vehicle, former CEO and MD for National Transport and Safety Authority, a gentleman who has served very well. And I think for the Honorable Ichongwa and the Honorable Soro, now on this one, I think you can sing the song Kasongo. It now sails better in this one. With those many remarks, I wish to support the motion before the floor, and you can sing Kasongo Nebali Nangai.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to seek clarity from the Honorable Gogoyo on the relevance of the song Kasongo in regard to the appointment and the motion that is before the House, Honorable Speaker.
He's out of order as being cheeky and irrelevant. Go on, Makale Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me also join my colleagues and support this motion. But as I support this motion, Honorable Speaker, just want to make about 3 observations. The first, Honorable Speaker, is that the public service in this country is facing quite a number of challenges. And I wish that this new commission will be able to address those challenges, and more so, the challenge of succession. We have a situation where we have a very elderly people and we have very young people, but in between, Honorable Speaker, there is a gap. This matter has been discussed for quite some time, and I think really as a country, we need to make sure that this one, we get it right for purposes of effective public service. The second matter, Honorable Speaker, is a matter which I raised the other time we were discussing the two commissions, IPOA and the other commission. Honorable Speaker, as a House, our work is oversight. And I see some of our colleagues getting very excited when they see people coming from their regions being in the list. But I think as House, Honorable Speaker, it is important that we look at the totality of these commissions. I don't know how that can be done, because I don't know whether at the point of the committee level, we ask ourselves, who else is in which committee or in which commission? So how I wish, Honorable Speaker, as a House, we could be able to get the listing of the constitutional commissions and who is currently sitting in those commissions. That will help this country in terms of ensuring that there's regional balancing. Because I think our members raised a very important point of order, Honorable Speaker. In a situation where you have a commission, a high-ranking commission like Public Service Commission, which is almost equivalent like the one you chair, Honorable Speaker, the Parliamentary Service Commission, and you have a chair and a vice chair coming from the same region, Honorable Speaker, I don't think Kenya is short of professionals who can sit on these things. So the issue of balancing and also for effective management, so that Kenyans don't appear like some sections have been left out and others are in, Honorable Speaker. I think as a House we need to start paying a bit of attention to these details because it will help the process. The last point, Honorable Speaker, is the Public Service Commission is also, I think, it's supposed to be taking care of capacity building. Honorable Speaker, a number of these senior public servants, I think as a House we need to think about supporting them with a budget to build their capacity building. Some of them have been in employment for so long, they never get a chance to be trained to upgrade their skills. And the challenge has always been, the Speaker, been, anytime we want to reduce the budget, we talk about training budget being a recurrent budget, and it's always been removed from the budgets. So at the end of the day, you have very well-trained officers, but they are not getting upgrading. Training short courses to upgrade their skills. So that's another area as a House. We need to make sure that when we are reducing the budgets, because at the end of the day, Honorable Speaker, we will reduce the budget, that we don't really reduce the budget for training, because this is how you get to improve the skills of these public servants. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Russell.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I really want to be brief. First of all, the Public Service Commission is almost the principal commission, constitutional commission, that employs. When we say that the civil service is actually lopsided, it's because Public Service Commission is not doing a good job. Secondly, it is about promotion. In most of the senior cadres, you must appear before the Public Service Commission to get a particular appointment in government. Thirdly, it is about the face of this country. If you don't have somebody in the Public Service Commission, the chances of you getting to a position that you desire is actually very rare, and sometimes it's like walking in the desert. Honorable Speaker, I want to say this as a parting shot. Once this commission is in place, they must visit all parts of this country and get views in terms of what is the representation Why are certain communities not in government? With those few remarks, I say, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much.
Daud? Yes. Hold, Daud. Yes, Honorable
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I see that we have unanimity in terms of the approval. Would I be in order, under the standing orders, Mr. Speaker, that the mover be called to reply or the question be put? Mr. Speaker, you know we have just come out of our recess. And Mr. Speaker, I think it would only be fair that the question be put, because we are all in agreement. There's nobody who is opposing. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I had already given Daud. Let me have him.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll be brief as well. Mr. Speaker, I want to support the motion. The Vice Chair, Mrs. Mary Kimonye, is my neighbor, and I know she's worked in the public service for many, many years, and she's capable of that. What I want to disabuse the notion by Honorable Wamboka that she comes from the same region with the chair, whereas the chair comes from the central region and Mary Kimonye comes from eastern region. So it's not the same region. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the nomination of Major, who was the NTSA DG, together with Mr. Bolu, who has got a vast experience. Mr. Speaker, I just want to ask the new commissioners to put into place my bill, which I brought to this House, which has been passed, Values and Principles of Public Service, to actualize it, what Honorable Raso has talked about. And if they can do that, then they will have done a lot of good. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support.
Owen Baya. We'll give two
Thank you,
more.
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just want to congratulate the members that have been nominated. I also congratulate the committee for a good job, but also to say that I want to thank the President, the appointing authority, for looking at gender. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5 members that are ladies in this commission. And I think that is very good in promoting gender in this country. But also to thank the President for actually giving us a lady from the coast that will stand in the public service. But I also want to say that public service is the engine of government. So they have a duty to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in management of government if they do a good job. If they don't do a good job in terms of recruitment, then they will fail the country. So I want to tell them that they have their cloth cut for them. They need to do a good job so that public service in this country can take off and be that efficient public service that can be respected in the world. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Members, can we call the mover to reply? I put the question that the mover be called upon to reply. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Those with a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Karemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to thank the honorable members who have added their voices to this motion and in support of it. Indeed, the committee did its work, and I also wish to thank the honorable members who sat together with me to vet these nominees. Honorable Speaker, I also wish to wish the incoming commissioners and the vice chair all the best as they execute their duties as the new commissioners of the Public Service Commission, and hope that they will take this country forward in the spaces that they will be occupying. Honorable Speaker, I am also drawn, my attention is also drawn, like that of Honorable Daud, to the sentiments made by one Honorable Amboka. You know, for those of us who come from Eastern region, we always don't like it, Honorable Speaker, when we are referred to as people coming from one region. The vice chair comes from the county of Meru, whereas Meru and...
Honorable Karemba, you are the chair of the committee. If you now want to delve into the rigmarole of sectarian politics,
Honorable Speaker, I'm not trying to move into that space. I'm only trying to insinuate that...
The good lawyer next to you should advise you.
All right.
It's not an issue.
All right. So, Honorable Speaker, I wish to thank all the members who have added their voices to this motion, and I beg to reply, Honorable Speaker.
That is better. Don't be tempted to draw yourself into sectarian politics. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 11, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Labor in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as Vice Chairperson and as members of the Public Service Commission laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th January 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 2332 of the Constitution and Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following persons to the Public Service Commission. Mrs. Mary Wanjira Kimonye, CBS, Vice Chairperson. Mr. Harun Maalim Hassan, Member. Ms. Mwanamaka Amani Mabruki, CBS, Member. Mr. Francis Major, Member. Dr. Irene Cherotich Asiega, Member. Mr. Boya Molu, EBS, Member. Ms. Joan Andisi Machayo, Member. And Dr. Francis Otieno Owino, CBS, Member. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Order, Whip, and Bashir. You cannot be engaging on the floor when the speaker was on his feet. If you stood there and froze, it would have been, but you are chatting away with the good lady from Aldai. Yes, you must maintain studious silence. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Dr. Nyikal, can you check what Honorable Kajwang has been consuming for lunch? Next order.
Order number 12, special motion, consideration of nominees for appointment as cabinet secretaries.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know Dr. Nyikal is a very good medical doctor, and therefore you are very right. He could check what, if there is any problem with the Honorable TJ. Kajwang, who we cannot afford to be in this house without. So Dr. Nyikal must ensure he's okay. Honorable Speaker, allow me to move that taking into consideration the findings of the Committee on Appointments in its fourth report on the vetting of the nominees for appointment as Cabinet Secretaries laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16 January 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Articles 152(2) of the Constitution and Sections 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F. This House approves the appointment of the following persons as Cabinet Secretaries. 1, the Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, EGH, as a Minister or the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. 2, the Honorable William Kabogo, as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Information Communications and Digital Economy Ministry. And 3, the Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, as a Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry. Honorable Speaker, allow me to take this opportunity first to thank you as the chair of the Appointments Committee and all the 20 members of the Parliamentary Appointments Committee who took their time, Honorable Speaker, during the recess to come and vet these 3 cabinet nominees, even as I thank all the members of this House who have heeded to the call for a special sitting today to approve the motions that we've just approved, that of SRC, the Public Service Commission, the ambassadors who are being designated to serve our country in different destinations around the world. And lastly, this motion, Honorable Speaker, to approve these 3 cabinet secretaries to serve in those 3 ministries, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, having and Kenyans watched as we vetted these 3 cabinet nominees. And these nominees, Honorable Speaker, are not new in the public service. The Honorable Mutahi Kagwe has been a minister right from the Kibaki time when he served as minister for 2 years as minister for ICT, or what was then the Ministry of Communications and Information and Communication, Honorable Speaker. He then served as Minister for Health at a very challenging time during the COVID outbreak, Honorable Speaker. And many Kenyans will remember the Honorable Mutahi Kagwe as a COVID-era minister. And he cut his niche, especially with his very good communication skills, always updating the country on the status of the pandemic in the country, Honorable Speaker. And I remember my own daughter who was then only 2 years old, whenever he saw either CS Muturi Kagwe or the then CAS, Dr. Mwangangi, Mercy Mwangangi, she would tell me, COVID. And in my house, Muturi Kagwe was Christian, the COVID minister. But he did a splendid job during that time, Honorable Speaker, and I'm glad that some of the issues that bedeviled his term, part of it being the COVID billionaire scandal, he was able to be confronted with those questions during the vetting process and adequately or sufficiently answered all the issues that pertained to that time, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying this because all the other nominees, the Honorable William Kabogo Getao is the first governor of Kiambu County, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Lee Kinyanjui is the second governor of Nakuru County. Honorable Speaker, as much as these 2 gentlemen never made it back to serve their second terms, during their terms as governors, there are things you could see both in Kiambu County, where I come from, and I say this Honorable Speaker, knowing that I had run-ins with the Honorable Kabogo when he was governor for Kiambu. And it was nothing ever personal, it was all in the course of business in politics, Honorable Speaker. But I can say today, so far, of all the governors who have served the county of Kiambu in terms of performance, William Getao Kabogo ranks #1 in terms of performance. Second is Governor Nyoro. Of course, the current governor and Governor Waitito, I can't even begin to rank them, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, Honorable Speaker, midwifed. I don't know who that is. The Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, Lee Mayan Kinyanjui.
Yes, Janet. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker.
Give him the mic.
Mr. Speaker, is it in order for the majority leader to become a pollster and say that to mislead the House that Governor Kabogo was the best, when he knows that there is a sitting governor here in the county now who's serving the county called Governor Wamatangi. And when I asked him about him, he told me, I don't know that one. Mr. Speaker, when did that change? And has Mr. Wamatangi left being the governor of Kiambu, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, let's be fair. Mr. Kabogo might have done a good job, but Mr. Wamatangi, can you tell us something about Mr. Wamatangi?
Honorable Speaker, I hear my leader of minority, and Honorable Speaker, you know, I am speaking about the nominees in this list, and there are two governors, Governor Kabogo and Governor Lee Mayani Kinyanjui. And therefore, I also said, having knowledge and being a constituent in Kiambu County, I am capable of ranking, not as a pollster, the performance in terms of output and actual performance on delivery of services to the people of Kiambu County. And Governor Getao Kabogo William ranks #1 so far. Governor Wamatangi has timized the current governor. He is now competing with Governor Waitito in terms of who will perform better. But so far, Governor Kabogo and Governor Nyoro have done exceptionally well. Honorable Speaker, and you can ask anybody from Kiambu County, they will vindicate me. I'll stand vindicated by the people of Kiambu. The people of Nakuru County also vindicate me when I say, Honorable Speaker, and Kenyans know that Governor Lee Kinyanjui midwifed the ascension of Nakuru County from a municipality into the city that Nakuru County is today. And these are not people, as I said, Honorable Speaker, who are new to public service. They are seasoned politicians, seasoned public officers, and I want to pray and hope that when they take over their offices, whether it is Mutahi Kagwe in the Ministry of Agriculture, whether it is Lee Kinyanjui in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, whether it is Getao Kabogo in the Ministry of ICT, Honorable Speaker, that they will serve all the people of this country with the dedication and commitment that we have seen them serve in the various other capacities that they have served the nation in. Honorable Speaker, there are challenges both in ICT, Honorable Speaker, with the rollout of the fiber optic cable and ensuring what the Honorable Pukose said during the vetting process, to ensure that the far-flung corners and districts of our country are also connected to the internet, Honorable Speaker. And Governor Kabogo, now CS nominee Kabogo, if approved by this House, has that challenge to ensure that every corner of this country, Honorable Speaker, has internet accessibility, not just to ensure that people are getting government services through e-citizen, Honorable Speaker, but also to ensure that Kenyans who are telling that you can finya computer upate dollar can able to work online from any corner of this country. You do not need to be in an urban area to be able to access internet services, Honorable Speaker, but even those in Elwak, those in Karachuonyo, those in far-flung corners of Turkana County, Honorable Speaker, can also be able to access internet services. And I am happy during the vetting process, Governor Kabogo was able to articulate that in those far-flung areas where they cannot be able to get accessibility through the fiber optic cable, he will explore new technology like the Starlink technology that is there to ensure that people are able to access internet connectivity and jobs, Honorable Speaker, and also create some sanity within the digital space, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Mutahi Kagwe has his work cut out, Honorable Speaker, and I'm happy that during the vetting process he was able to very well articulate the challenges that bedevil our agricultural sector, the connectivity between productivity in the agricultural sector, access to markets, and making agriculture profitable to farmers. And Honorable Speaker, I am glad that he was able to articulate how he will work and be able to make agriculture profitable, ensure that our country is food secure, and ensure that our farmers access markets, not just for their tea, coffee, milk, pyrethrum, even potato farmers or sugarcane farmers, Honorable Speaker, that are able to access markets and access good prices for their produce, Honorable Speaker. I pray, as I challenge the Honorable Mutahi Kagwe during the vetting, that he will not be swallowed by the cartels that have swallowed even other bigger people, not just in that ministry, but even in bigger offices, Honorable Speaker. You know there are people who are given the responsibility in this country to midwife the access to markets for our coffee farmers and our tea farmers. But they went and became cartels themselves, Honorable Speaker. We have had tales, Honorable Speaker, in this country, where somebody was demanding 3 shillings per kilogram of coffee being exported or being sold out of this country. I want to pray that the Honorable Mutahi Kagwe will serve with the diligence that he served in the ministries that he served before in this agriculture ministry, and with the integrity that we have seen him serve with before. The Honorable Lee Kenyanjui, my good friend from Nakuru County, as I said, did well in Nakuru County, but now he has his work cut out for him. Trade and industry, Honorable Speaker, and the State Department for Investments now fall on his shoulders. And he has rather broad shoulders, and I want to believe that those shoulders of Lee Kenyanjui will be able to carry this ministry to the next level where it ought to be. Honorable Speaker, it is shameful that 20 years ago, or even less than 20 years ago, our country was leading in terms of our percentage of manufacturing as a percentage of our GDP. Kenya in the region, not just in East Africa, but in East, Central, and almost Southern Africa, with the exception of Botswana and South Africa, Kenya had the highest percentage in terms of manufacturing contribution to our GDP. But today, Honorable Speaker, neighboring countries like Uganda, that were largely importing manufactured goods from Kenya, are ahead of us. If you look at the 2023 statistics, Honorable Speaker, Uganda's manufacturing industry has grown to contribute at least 15.65% to their GDP, whereas Kenya's is at a level of about 7.3%, almost actually half or less than half that of Uganda. When and how Uganda overtook us in manufacturing, Honorable Speaker, is a challenge that Lee Kinyanjui has to reverse that. There is no sector that can create more jobs than the manufacturing sector, Honorable Speaker. And I want to believe with the increased productivity in agriculture, with the good technology and technical skills amongst the youth in this country, Honorable Speaker, if we are able to leverage on that, Honorable Speaker, it is possible then to grow industries and manufacturing that will grow, increase our GDP, Honorable Speaker, and also increase our manufacturing sector's contribution to our GDP almost threefold to at least 20%, Honorable Speaker. We have stagnated about 7% for the last almost 10, 12 years. And time is nigh, Honorable Speaker, and I want to believe that the Honorable Lee Kinyanjui has what it takes. And I have confidence that these three cabinet secretaries, Honorable Speaker, have what it takes to move us to where we want to be as a nation. And in terms of implementing the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Honorable Speaker, I know there are issues, and I want to note that there are memoranda that were filed before the Appointments Committee, which we all considered. The nominees were given these memoranda and they responded to them. And one of the salient issues in this memoranda was the question of two-thirds gender rule, Honorable Speaker. And as members know, and it's good to inform the country, that we look at the cabinet composition in its totality, not these three nominees. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, in terms of adherence to that two-thirds gender rule, we are doing well, and I want to believe, because there are still slots that are available in the cabinet, to ask the President, His Excellency President William Ruto, that is in his next appointments, to ensure that there are at least both genders, not just one gender, to ensure that we truly conform to the two-thirds gender rule. But as we are, Honorable Speaker, even without the full composition of cabinet, we have done well with at least 6 cabinet secretaries, including the Attorney General, as ladies, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in terms of regional balance, it is true, Honorable Speaker, and there are issues that were raised that these 3 nominees, again, hail from one region. And it's true, Honorable Speaker, they all hail from one region. But again, we look at the totality of the composition of cabinet in totality, and you will see that it goes very well with our population numbers, the representation of our communities and various regions in cabinet is well represented, Honorable Speaker. And that also, Speaker, should shut those who, Honorable Speaker, have been intent on inciting the people of this region where these members come from. I know, Honorable Speaker, there are those who have said that Mount Kenya region was being represented in cabinet by people who are not known. But there are people and Kenyans who also deserve to serve in cabinet, Honorable Speaker. And some of those people, like Dr. Andrew Karanja, you remember when he was appointed, with a very good CV, and I'm glad the President has given him an opportunity to go and serve the country in Brazil, and all the other cabinet secretaries who had been appointed earlier, Honorable Speaker, and who are capable and can serve in other capacities. These 3 gentlemen, the Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, the Honorable William Kabogo, and the Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, are not coming in to serve the people of Mount Kenya. Agriculture is not in Mount Kenya. ICT is not in Mount Kenya alone. Neither is trade and industry or investments. These are dockets where they are coming to serve all the people of Kenya as cabinet secretaries. And I want to encourage them to serve the people of Kenya without any regard to the regions they come from, to serve people fairly and equally. Consider the people of Marsabit in agriculture, whether it is in their pastoralist activities, in the livestock department, the state department is under that ministry. Consider them as well as you consider the people of Odhaya with their coffee, or the people of Kiambu in Limuru with their tea, or indeed the people of Kikuyu with our potatoes and small-scale farming, Honorable Speaker, because we live on 50 by hundreds. And of course, the people who are producing livestock, we are key stakeholders because we are also butchers in Dagoretti. And Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that so that all these cabinet secretaries come to serve us as Kenyans. And nobody should ever look at them on the basis of the regions where they come from. I know there are others who may have wanted and tempted even cabinet secretaries. And it is sad, Honorable Speaker, that today we even have cabinet secretaries who get tempted to playing to the public gallery, excite emotions on the basis of ethnicity and regions they come from, inciting communities against communities. And Honorable Speaker, it is sad. And I want to pray that these three gentlemen, because during the vetting process, they are able to show that they look at Kenya as one unitary state. They will serve the people of Kenya without regard to where anybody comes from or whatever language any Kenyan speaks, and serve them as Kenyans. I wish them all the best, Honorable Speaker, and I want to implore on all of us to approve these three cabinet secretaries so that cabinet may be not fully constituted, but at least those who are acting can now hand over, and hopefully the next cabinet meeting, they will have been sworn in and take over the service of serving Kenyans. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and I want to request the Leader of Minority, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, who also sits in the Appointments Committee, to second the motion in agreement. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Junet.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second this motion for the adoption of the fourth report of the Committee on Appointment on the approval hearings of nominees for appointment as Cabinet Secretaries, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as the Majority Leader has alluded to, I sit the committee that is chaired by yourself of appointment and approval, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, through that, I interacted with the nominees, Mr. Speaker, the three cabinet nominees, secretary nominees, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I came to realize that people who go through elective positions, Mr. Speaker, people who are elected by the people of Kenya as MCAs, as members of parliament, as governors, Mr. Speaker, those are people who are really tried and tested. And those are people who really can show leadership when it is required, Mr. Speaker, compared to people who have not held elective positions, Mr. Speaker. And I'm not trying to say that because I've been elected several times. Mr. Speaker, these three nominees have shown immense knowledge. They have shown immense knowledge and experience, Mr. Speaker, in terms of handling public affairs. And why that happened is because some of them ran or managed some of the largest counties in the country, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Lee Kinyanjui was the governor of Nakuru. And Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, is one of the largest counties in the country, even in terms of population. That has given that man a lot of experience from what I saw when he appeared before the committee. Honorable Kabogo also, Mr. Speaker, has managed one of the largest counties. And as you can see, a member here, the majority leader, has testified that he has done a good job when he was the governor of that county. Mr. Speaker, that has given them a lot of experience. And the other nominee, has been a cabinet secretary. He has been the senator of Nyeri. He has been a cabinet secretary at a very difficult time when this country had a pandemic, the coronavirus, Mr. Speaker, and he handled it very well. And the country saved, through that, a lot of lives were saved, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, that public service has impacted a lot of knowledge and experience on these three gentlemen, Mr. Speaker. I don't think they could have been better people to serve in these ministries than those people, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you see, public service, Mr. Speaker, is a calling, and I've said that many times. And you should be able to do it so long as you've been given an opportunity. Majority leader. But when you feel a time has come, and you feel that the executive that you are part of, and you feel that the president that you are serving, and the government that you are serving is not incompatible, the policies or your belief at the moment, at this point in time, is not compatible with the government you are serving, the best thing to do, Mr. Speaker, is to resign. Don't bring commotions, don't bring unnecessary fights within the government. Be a man enough and say, this is enough now. I don't think, the way you've said, I don't think what is happening now is not what I came to do. For that reason, I want to leave. It's only in African societies or in African democracies where somebody disagrees with the policies, disagrees with what's happening in a government, and he still wants to stay there. To do what? Somebody told me an African man, if you give him the keys to the washrooms and tell him, can you use it and bring it back to me, he will put it in his pocket and tell you, no, you tell me when you need it is when I'll give you back. Mr. Speaker, only in African societies. Mumbi, can you give us time? I want the majority leader to listen to what I'm saying. So if you no longer believe in what the government is doing and you're a cabinet secretary, just resign. You are not welded there like chuma, like an iron. You are not welded in government. Just leave. You know, the other time when we were impeaching the deputy president, somebody told me that he was asked, why can't you resign? Now that members of parliament have lost faith in you. A pastor in his home told him that you are by God. You must remain there until you are removed by God. Now God spoke through angels to the members of parliament and they removed him. And God's work happened in this parliament. Speaker. Somebody told him that you are put there by God. Only God can remove you. Pana. God can remove you in many ways. Impeachment comes from God. Because by the time 300 members of parliament agree on something, it's the hand of God. It's the work of God. It's the voice of God. So, Mr. Speaker, if you don't wait for God to come to your house to talk to you, if you think you cannot serve the government anymore, go do farming. Go do other things. Mr. Speaker. Or become something else. Become a professional. If you're a lawyer, go and open a law firm and serve the country that sphere, Mr. Speaker. Because you cannot be a cabinet secretary who is issuing contrary views to what your government is saying. It's immoral, actually. The other day I saw a good friend of mine, whom I learned a lot of things under him, who was sitting in the chair where Mr. Speaker is sitting, Mr. Speaker. And I learned everything I'm doing in this house under his, Mr. Speaker, under his supervision. And that's not what he taught me when he was a speaker. He told me, Junaid, if you are tired of something, leave. But now the same person is now accusing the same people he's serving of many things, and he wants to remain there and stay there, Mr. Speaker. It only happens in Africa. It cannot happen. And targeting communities, targeting people of certain, communities. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is very unfair. And I am a leader now in this country because I'm a minority leader. That's a constitutional office under Article 108. If my son is arrested by police, I should also tell the country why my son was arrested. I can't just say my son was arrested by so and so. Give the reasons why he was arrested. And then why do you wait for 7 months so that you tell Kenyans why your son was arrested? Why don't you tell them the day he was released that my son was arrested, and then you drop names. You say I went to the president and the president told me that I called so and so. My friend, where is this secrecy of oath? It's called what? Oath of secrecy. Why can't you discuss things at that level with the people who are concerned? Now, if you have the opportunity to go and see the president, to go and see people who are high offices, Kenyans who cannot access those places, how are they going to be served? What kind of, as a leader, what kind of trend are you setting? That anybody who wants to get help must go there. We cannot run, a country cannot be run like that, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope these cabinet secretaries who are being approved in this house today will not behave in the same manner. Because, when that becomes now the modus operandi, Mr. Speaker, it's going to... We will not have a cabinet. We don't need to waste our time in this house approving people who are going to defy the same government they want to go and serve. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that kind of manners should not be allowed in any society. Because you must be somebody who stands for something. If you strongly feel that what's happening is wrong, leave. People in mature democracies, they live even over something smaller than this. So, Mr. Speaker, coming back to the point, is that I want to say these three gentlemen, Mr. Speaker, whom we are approving today, are not also going to represent certain regions. cabinet secretaries are appointed to serve the Republic of Kenya. Every Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, deserves their service, Mr. Speaker. If you are going to behave like the way people we have impeached, and then start talking about, you come to my constituency and you bring me salam from your home, I will just chase you away. Mr. Speaker, dismissal of cabinet secretaries is not only the prerogative of the president. This House has constitutional mandate also to dismiss cabinet secretaries, the way we are proving them. So if you behave in a very tribalistic manner, you behave in an manner, nothing stops us from filing an impeachment motion and removing you from office, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if you believed the people you are saying abducted your son, and the Kenyans, and you took 7 months, Mr. Speaker, to tell Kenyans what happened, who will believe you now? Because, 7 months is a long period of time. I'm sorry to say, I called a police officer, under the privilege of the House. I was told people are arrested over many things. You can be arrested because you are dealing in drugs. You are dealing in money laundering. You can be arrested on many things. Arresting is not abduction. We have to condemn abduction, but we cannot condemn arresting. Yeah. Police officers are paid. They earn salaries so that they can arrest people. That's their work. If I break the law today, they will arrest me. But we must condemn abduction, but we cannot condemn arrest. Arrests are legal. They are legal in our laws for a policeman to arrest me and to arrest anybody else. Mr. Speaker, so I want to emphasize on the issue that cabinet secretaries must serve all Kenyans. If you want to serve your village, go and become an MCA. Don't become a minister or a chief. Like the way I see now, there's a senior chief now who's meeting people in Wamunyoro. Every day they are meeting there. You are now just local chief there, just meeting people there. You expect me to travel all the way from Nairobi to go and meet somebody in that village? What is the name of that village? Wamunyoro. I can't go, Mr. Speaker. So if you want to be like that, just go to your village. But if you want to serve Kenyans, if your desire is to serve Kenyans as a cabinet secretary, then serve all Kenyans, irrespective of their region, irrespective of their community, irrespective of their service, of religion.
Yes, member for Madeira. Junaid, do you want to be informed?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Especially from somebody from Wamunyoro village, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. I want to inform Honorable Junaid that Wamunyoro is a very good village in Madeira constituency. And in that village there is a chief who is a very good man who serves people, all the people in dignity. It is only one man, disgruntled, who is meeting people with long beards who don't know where they are going. So let's not discuss Wamunyoro. Wamunyoro is a good village. It's only one man who don't know where he is going or where he is coming from, who is disgruntled and he doesn't know where he is going or coming from. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Member of Parliament for Madeira for informing me that Wamunyoro is a very good place. You know, I have not visited Wamunyoro yet. I need to pay a courtesy call to him so that I can see how good Wamunyoro is, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, why am I using Wamunyoro as an example? Mr. Speaker, I cannot travel from a place called Migori in Wothorumo or Wothogig all the way to Wamunyoro so that I can get government services. I must get government services nationally. The minister must come to my place in Gorjope so that he can serve me in Gorjope, not me to go to Wamunyoro, Mr. Speaker. That is why we retired someone to Wamunyoro. And I'm sending a warning to the cabinet secretaries that if you take the behavior of Wamunyoro, if you want to serve only Wamunyoro people, we will sack you. We will impeach you. You must serve all Kenyans. And if you want to serve only your local people, become an MCA. That's where local people, the ward where people are served, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because, Mr. Speaker, there are people who think they have become cabinet secretary to serve their region, or to serve their community, or to serve their tribesmen. No. Cabinet secretary is a national position. If you want to remain as a CS, you must remain national, Mr. Speaker. And I know these three whom we are approving today, they are experienced. These are people, these are national leaders who have served all kinds of Kenyans, because you know Nakuru, almost every community of this country lives in Nakuru. Even in Kiambu nowadays, because it's becoming an extension of Nairobi, many communities in Kiambu, Mr. Speaker. These are the kind of leaders we want to have in cabinet. And let me congratulate the president, Mr. Speaker, because in terms of diversity, I don't think there's a president who has gotten it right more than President Ruto, Mr. Speaker. Very few communities now are not on the table of the cabinet, Mr. Speaker. All communities are almost there, Mr. Speaker. Anywhere, any county of almost has a representative now in the cabinet or in the executive for that matter. That is the kind of country we want to build. That is why ODM has sent experts to the broad-based. And we have more experts to send, Mr. Speaker. That's why we want to send more experts to government so that that diversity can be felt, that diversity can be achieved. But the ones who want to retire to their village in Kanyambora, those ones should let Kenyans do other things, Mr. Speaker. If you want to become the chief of Kanyambora, just go and become the chief of Kanyambora. Don't bring issues here. Oh, so-and-so abducted my son, so-and-so did. No, no, no. Just go and... That will be another Munyoro Center. Just go to Kanyambora Center and stay there, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Order, take your seat, Owen. Honorable members are now proposed the question at order number 12, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Committee on Appointments in its fourth report on the vetting of the nominees for appointment as cabinet secretaries, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 16th January 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 152(2) of the Constitution and Section 3 and 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, Cap 7F, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as cabinet secretaries. 1. Honorable Muturi Kagwe, AGH, Agriculture and Livestock Development. Honorable William Kabogo, Information, Communication and the Digital Economy. Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, Investments, Trade and Industry. Yes, Wangwe.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to first and foremost support this motion of consideration for the appointment of the cabinet secretaries. And Honorable Speaker, thank the President for taking his time and getting the right candidates for this position. Honorable Speaker, I have a view that the three candidates, and I will enumerate in particular the Honorable Muturi Kagwe, whom I happen to have interacted with prior to this appointment. And Honorable Speaker, I find Honorable Muturi Kagwe as a very strong candidate for this appointment, and feel the performance he displayed, Honorable Speaker, during his position as the Cabinet Secretary in charge of health shall follow suit. The only thing I would wish to comment and recommend to the Cabinet, to the Honorable Muturi Kagwe, is, Honorable Speaker, to know that all of us are looking forward to him to put agriculture as a sector in order. We want to see, Honorable Speaker, a situation where the aspiration of the President to make sure that sugarcane farmers, Honorable Speaker, are able to earn bonus be fulfilled, Honorable Speaker. We want to see a situation, Honorable Speaker, that the brokers in between the people who would want to affect the chain of distribution in terms of agriculture, Honorable Speaker, is dismantled. We want to see, Honorable Speaker, that Honorable Muturi Kagwe puts his foot down to see that Honorable Speaker, we don't get fertilizer that is in doubt. Let the government agenda, Honorable Speaker, to give us the fertilizer at 2,500 be implemented and even come more lower. But, Honorable Speaker, we get the right fertilizer for our input. Honorable Speaker, we want to see that the marketing of our product in terms of
how to sell it and where to sell is opened more, wider and wider. So that, Honorable Speaker, we see as farmers all what is good to be implemented. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that we are now implementing the Sugar Bill, Sugar Act, and I would want to request the Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, should this House consider and approve his nomination, Honorable Speaker, let him make sure that he concludes what has been started, so that, Honorable Speaker, we get the sugar sector be very much independent and implemented. Honorable Speaker, speaking on Boliki Nyanjui, I had a privilege of working with him, Honorable Speaker, especially during the previous campaigns, and I found, Honorable Speaker, on Boliki Nyanjui as a very astute member of any organization, and have him, Honorable Speaker, having been a governor, it's important. I thank him and say, Honorable Speaker, the docket that he's being bestowed on investment, trade and industry is not a small docket, Honorable Speaker. It's a docket that balloons the economy of our country. All what we manufacture, Honorable Speaker, must get the destination, and all what is possible to invest, Honorable Speaker, any small-scale person relies on this docket, Honorable Speaker. We want to see him working hand in hand with the National Treasury to open up the sectors that we need to supply our products. Let us open up the industry the manufacturing sector, so that, Honorable Speaker, we don't just say we want our youth to get employment. Let our youth, Honorable Speaker, get very good employment, especially where foreigners and those people with money can invest in good industries to add value on our produce. As an agricultural economy, Honorable Speaker, we must have where to add value to our produce. That is where Honorable Liki Nyanjui is going to come in. Honorable Speaker, on the front of ICT, under the Honorable William Kabogo, I don't have a benefit of having worked with him, but having felt him as a governor of Kiambu. He was a forthright and as well as a member of this House, Honorable Speaker, you could see, I went to the Hansard, and you could see, Honorable Speaker, how astute Honorable Kaboko was on the floor, and how astute, Honorable Speaker, he could force and push issues. We want him, Honorable Speaker, to push that Kenya moves to the next level of ICT. Let us not just be manual, mechanical, rather, Honorable Speaker, move to the next global frontier. Honorable Speaker, we must look at the issue of the internet supply. We must look at the issue of communication. We must look at the issue, Honorable Speaker, that internet is not meant for disabuse. Honorable Speaker, internet is meant for communication. It's not meant for ridicule. Let Honorable Kabogo come in and know that he should be able, Honorable Speaker, to put the provisions as they are supposed to be, so that we have a fair play, so that let everyone who is using the internet use it within the law. It's not an issue of the youth. Many a times, Honorable Speaker, people have said the youth are abusing the internet. That is wrong. Even the elderly, Honorable Speaker, when they speak on the internet platform, they must inform each other rather than abusing each other. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, these nominees stand a good chance, and I will want to say, Honorable Speaker, we approve them so that we all move forward as a country and get our spaces replaced. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support. Bowen. Give Kangogo the...
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the three nominees, Mr. Speaker, for the Cabinet Secretary's position. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say some few things. Starting with the Honorable Kakwe, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this nomination as a Cabinet Secretary. Mr. Speaker, when the Honorable Kakwe was the CS for Health, at a very difficult time, Mr. Speaker, when the country was fighting the COVID-19, he proved himself, Mr. Speaker, that as a capable Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Health then. And Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Honorable Kakwe as he moves to the Ministry of Agriculture. The agriculture is the backbone of our economy as a country. And Mr. Speaker, in the last few months, the Ministry of Agriculture has been on the wrong for many things, especially the fertilizer. Mr. Speaker, the harvest which we currently many farmers harvested some few months ago, some of them were affected because of the fake fertilizers which was there. Last year. Mr. Speaker, we want to ask the CS nominee that as he takes over the ministry, once he's approved by this House, to make sure that the Ministry of Agriculture becomes the backbone, Mr. Speaker, and supports the farmers of this country to produce enough for this country. There is no need, Mr. Speaker, when we have almost majority of Kenyans, 90% of our people, they are farmers, and they are getting a little support from the government. Mr. Speaker, the issue number 2, the cartels we have in Ministry of Agriculture, they are quite a number. You will find that farmers, there are so many middlemen. In coffee, in tea, they are not benefiting from their produce. So we want to seek that the cabinet secretary, once he's in that office, is able to help the Kenyan farmers. Mr. Speaker, the issue of ICT and the Honorable Kabogo, if it's approved by this House. I think ICT is an emerging technology, Mr. Speaker, and there are so many challenges, from fraud to hacking to so many things. And there is need to regulate actually the industry. There is a lot to be done in the industry to make sure that the new ICT, the digitization in the country, they are used for the benefit of the people and the young people, and it is not a platform for abuses. It's not a platform for people to make illegal activities. And Mr. Speaker, finally, the Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, we want also to support him in the Ministry of Trade. The trade, Mr. Speaker, our import and export, Mr. Speaker, determines also our balance between a shilling and the dollar. So when we have a lot of export, Mr. Speaker, as a country, you will see that we will benefit from the business of foreign exchange. And currently, I think as a country, we are importing more than what we are exporting. So we expect that the Lee Kinyanjui, when he comes in, he will take up the ministry to the next level to benefit Kenyan traders. Mr. Speaker, I support the 3 nominees.
Yes, Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also take this opportunity to support the nominations of the 3 appointees, being the Honorable Muturi Kagwe, the Honorable Lee Kinyanjui, and the Honorable William Kabogo. Honorable Speaker, these 3 all have one thing in common. They have a wealth of experience. They each have done unique things within the sphere of their previous appointments that make them exceptional. And Honorable Speaker, just as it has been said by our previous members, that we really want to encourage that these cabinet secretaries focus their work nationally and not just within the country. Honorable Speaker, we all remember very well how the Honorable Muturi Kagwe was very instrumental during the COVID-19